Grüß, willkommen in einem anderen Frequenz video. Welcome to yet another exciting video, in this case part 10 of my organisational series. In this case I'll be providing a view of the Polish World War II brigades and divisions, specifically their combat strength. To determine combat strength, I'll be using the point system from the Corps Commander set of figure gaming rules. The point system is based largely on physical attributes of the various weapon systems, such as armour thickness, gun penetration rates, weight of fire, speed, special combat features, and so on. This analysis will mainly focus on the battalions within the division. Companies will be included when they are support formations or when it's unavoidable. It's also important to understand that 100 points of tanks will operate very differently from 100 points of infantry. Thus, comparing tank battalions with infantry battalions need to be done through a subjective filter. However, comparing different tank battalions is a valid comparison. It also should be noted that while figure gaming points systems provide a rough way of ensuring force mixes are balanced, they can never be perfect. If one formation is 1,000 points and the other is 1,001 points, it does not mean the latter will win any conflict. As a result, it's best to look at the value several orders of magnitude higher. Thus, dividing by 250 gives you a simpler value where a value of 2 is clearly inferior to a value of 3. The Polish were involved in World War II from the very beginning, or the first day, and perhaps under British service up until the surrender of the Japanese. So it's an impressive period or span of time that the Poles were involved in World War II. As with many armies of the period, the bedrock of the Polish army were their infantry divisions. There were a number of different levels of readiness of the divisions, but we'll be dealing with the official TO&E only. The Polish infantry divisions were small compared with the German divisions, but they were very well balanced. Considering its size, the anti-tank and artillery support was rather reasonable. The elite formation, or the most prestigious formation of the Polish army, were their cavalry brigades, which acted like horse-mobile infantry. These would normally dismount before getting into action. The quality of the troops were very high. The cavalry brigades, while small, were rather good. The motorised infantry and cavalry battalions, or regiments, had good supporting formations and equipment, and as a result had significant combat punch. The motorised infantry battalions were particularly good. Before the war, the Polish began to motorise one of their cavalry brigades, and the result looked kind of like a mechanised brigade. The 10th was the first of such a motorised or mechanised brigade. The brigade had all its armour under headquarters command, so there were no armoured battalions. The artillery and infantry were reasonable, and this brigade had, at various times, other formations attached to it. The artillery and AA battalions were attached from the start of the war, and the R35 light tank battalion joined it after losses during the campaign. After the invasion had occurred, the Polish rapidly formed a second mechanised or cavalry motorised brigade, consisting of whatever they could pull together around Warsaw. The Warsaw Brigade was similar to the 10th, although the army were organised into 2 battalions, which is not shown here. I'm uncertain if this organisation was official or if it was just an ad hoc arrangement, but does seem logical, and I see no reason why the 10th wouldn't have organised their armour in a similar manner. A 7 TPM battalion joined the brigade during the campaign, again after it suffered some losses. Now, obviously we can't compare the progression of how the divisions changed during the war because they were only active or in presence for a short period of time, but we can compare some of the battalions against French and Italian battalions. Compared with the French and Italians, the standard leg infantry battalion was weak, but the motorised battalion, that's the Polish motorised battalion, was very good indeed. The tank battalions were comparable in terms of combat effectiveness. Once the Russians joined in the invasion of Poland, the Polish armed forces had no chance of surviving. If only the Russians invaded, it may have given itself a good account of itself, or if the Western Allied had been more aggressive in France and the Russians were not involved, the Polish army may have lasted longer in turn. One thing I can say, the troops were highly motivated and fought very well, although they were overwhelmed with basically overwhelming enemy power. And so this concludes my rather short part 10 of my video series on organisation, in this case analysing the Polish Army in World War II, specifically the estimated combat strengths of the battalions which made up the divisions. Alle guten Dinge kommen zu einem Ende.